Okay, so you're heading down to Mexico, right? And you're a big streamer, but you're kind of wondering if it's going to be the same experience.
Yeah, that's why I have my shows.
Can you get your fix down there?
Exactly.
So today, we're going to deep dive into streaming in Mexico. What can you expect? What's different?
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's not a carbon copy of what we have here in the U.S.
Exactly.
You will find your favorites.
Oh, yeah.
But you'll find some unexpected stuff as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was reading that, like even some of the platforms that we use here, like let's just say Tubi, for instance. The library in Mexico is totally different than what we have here.
Yeah.
I was reading that there's a lot of classic Mexican cinema.
Sure.
Like telenovelas, things you just wouldn't find here.
Right, and it makes you think, what does that tell us about the audience down there?
Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah, are they just more interested in their own film and television?
Yeah.
Or is there something else at play?
Yeah, and it makes you think like each country's streaming library really is a reflection of their cultural identity.
Totally.
Right. Speaking of which, you're obviously going to encounter a lot more Spanish titles.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right.
You're going to have to brush up on your Spanish.
Yeah, exactly.
But don't worry, even if your Spanish isn't great, there's usually subtitles or dubbing available.
Okay, good.
For a lot of the English language shows.
Okay.
And sometimes even the descriptions and the captions and the search terms for those shows are in Spanish.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
So I might have to have Google Translate handy?
You might, just to find your show.
Just to find my show? That is wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a good reminder that even something as familiar as streaming can be completely different when you go to another country.
Totally.
It's not just the language either. There's this really interesting kind of nostalgia factor.
Oh, yeah.
That comes into play.
Like that whole thing about finding that Johnny Carson episode?
Yeah.
On Tubi, right?
That's wild.
In Mexico.
Yeah.
With Richard Pryor from the 70s.
Exactly.
That is crazy.
It makes you wonder why older shows are so popular in Mexico.
Yeah, why is that?
Is it just nostalgia?
Yeah.
Or is there something that, those older shows are fulfilling that newer shows aren't?
Right, yeah.
It's a really good question.
Yeah, maybe it's a little both. I don't know.
It could be.
I'm curious, is there any, historical or economic reason why older American content might be more readily available in Mexico?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be licensing.
Yeah.
It could have to do with how Mexican television evolved. I think that's worth looking into.
Yeah, it's just really fascinating to me how, this simple deep dive into streaming can really reveal so much about a country's culture and history.
Totally.
One thing I was thinking about, though, and I don't know if this is true.
Yeah.
But, you enjoy diverse cinema.
Sure.
And it seems like, from what I've read, the selection of, let's say, black cinema might be a little more limited.
It could be, yeah.
In Mexico than it is here.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's definitely something to be aware of. And that's a good argument for downloading some stuff.
Right.
Before you go.
Yeah. Download your must-sees.
So you'll have it.
Before you head down.
Exactly.
So to wrap this up, as you're packing your bags and you're packing your streaming device.
For sure.
Just remember that streaming in Mexico, it really does offer a very unique look into their culture.
Absolutely.
And it's a chance to discover some new favorites.
Yeah.
Experience some familiar shows.
Yeah.
In a new light.
For sure.
And maybe even learn a little Spanish along the way.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh.
It really makes you think, right? If streaming libraries are different across borders, what does that mean?
Yeah.
How does our access to content, how does that shape how we understand the world?
Right.
What does it say about the stories that we prioritize?
Yeah.
And the perspectives that we're exposed to?
That's so interesting.
Yeah, something to ponder as you enjoy your streaming adventures in Mexico.
Absolutely. Such a good point.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Of course.
We'll see you next time.
Sounds great.